As far as the Cavs go, they're early. They're early in their process of building, and so I don't want to be too critical because this is a team that last year jumped the gun and were better than expected, barely missed out on the postseason. This is their first postseason appearance with this group. Garland's getting his feet wet. Mobley's getting his feet wet. First year with Garland and Mitchell in the postseason. So, as much as there is roster construction concerns, you don't want to be overly dramatic. The first concern I'll say is I don't think we can say Donovan Mitchell's a playoff riser anymore. I'm not ready to say he's a bad playoff performer, but he's now 2 first-round series removed from being a very good postseason basketball player. And that's concerning to me. Last year's bad playoff series does not get mentioned as much as it should. And last year he was really bad, and this year he had a couple of good games and then was really bad again. So that's concerning to me as he needs to be the guy for them. And if he's their guy come the playoffs, that didn't bode that well this year, and it didn't bode last year very well for Utah either. The second thing then for me is how do they get wings? Because whether you believe in Allen and Mobley as a duo or not, even if you think they should retain both, that's fine, but then how do you get wings? Because they've used all their first-round picks. They don't have that anymore. They've used them to get Donovan Mitchell. So there are options to get some actual productive wing play as opposed to just guys who can play and aren't really doing it for them, as we're now seeing with the Suns. There's a difference between depth and impactful depth. The Cavs just have depth. They don't have impactful depth on those wings. And how they're going to get that's going to be problematic. They're going to have to draft well with their first-round pick every second year for the next few years. But the only way they probably get high-quality depth now is if they move off of Jared Allen. That's probably the only valid option. And so whether people agree with that or not, there's a reason why that's being floated around, because Garland and Mitchell's your backcourt, and you're probably not trading away either guy at that high a value for depth. That trade just probably doesn't work. You're looking for more value, and you're probably not getting depth plus firsts. If you're Cleveland, that just doesn't make any sense, and no different from Mobley. So if the Cavs are going to fix a little bit of their roster imbalance and their roster construction, it probably has to be a Jared Allen trade, and then you have to question whether Mobley's ready to play at the 5. So there's a lot of questions and no real perfect solutions for where this Cavs roster is currently at. And that's not to say that they're going to be bad. I mean, they proved this year that they're still a good team as currently constructed. They're going to do well in the regular season. They're probably going to be pretty much a playoff lock. There just might be a few tweaks they have to make over the next couple of years to get to that next level. The good thing is for them is they're not in a hurry. They just need to make sure they do enough over the next couple of years to convince Donovan Mitchell that he should stay around and doesn't want to jump ship when he becomes a free agent.
Yeah, there's totally a significant amount of maturing that this core is going to have to do if they want to really compete. Just when you're two like big young guys, because Donovan Mitchell's been around for a while at this point. When your biggest young pieces is Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, and they both underperform in this series, if you're going to stick with them long term, eventually they're going to have to get to a point where they're the ones stepping up in the playoffs, and that just didn't happen this year. And by any stretch of the imagination, you could see that happening fairly easily, next year, 2 years down the line, and in years to come. So I'm not too worried about them as of now. And if they end up if they move off of Jared Allen, I think that's okay. With Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, you still have 3 great players on the roster, 3 core pieces that you can build around. And there's a lot that you can do there, especially while Mobley's still in a rookie contract. So if they can find out a way to make that work, I don't think they're in too bad of a position right now. Just really a tough break for their first season together.
Yeah, I was kind of having this talk with my dad earlier. It was pretty much exactly what Devin was saying was, I was basically saying the same points. I think the move down the line would have to be Allen. I think that makes the most sense because I've pretty much been on the train of I want to see Mobley be able to be the full-time center at some point anyways. I feel like that will be the best way to unlock his full potential. And really, like you said, Devin, you're not trading Donovan, you're not trading Darius, you're not trading Mobley. Allen's the only guy that makes enough money and has enough value to where you could get pieces back, which will help you get better and be able to compete and try and win the championship, which is the ultimate goal. they're definitely just lacking like bigger wing players because a lot of their wings that they have off of their bench or just whoever's starting, Okoro's like 6'4", maybe 6'5". Same thing with Karis LeVert. These are like smaller, more two guard, but they're playing the wing because they kind of have to on this team. And I think they realize the importance of having bigger wing players because in a series where your bigs are getting dominated, it would be helpful to have somebody that's 6'7", 6'8", like Jimmy Butler in game one. I know Jimmy's super elite, but he was really hitting those boards heavy because Bam wasn't, rebounding like crazy, but Jimmy was on the boards helping him out because Mitchell Robinson's that much of a force. So they'll definitely have the resources to make these moves, and I'm sure there'll be a move out there. I think it's a good thing. Like their problems is not something that's like totally unfixable because, like Gabe mentioned, two of their main core pieces are super young. It's their first playoff experience. And like Devin mentioned, like you have the tangible assets to make moves and potentially increase your wing depth, which is not really something that's hard to come by in the NBA. They just so happen to have a team which they traded away some of their wings. Like Ochai Agbaji would be perfect on this team right now. Even though he's a rookie, he would have fit right in, played really well. They had Larry Markkinen last year. Like they had guys that would have filled these needs, but you had to get rid of them to get one of your star players in Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me when you talk about them needing big wings, not that he would have been the savior to all things, but Dean Wade not getting any bit of a run in the postseason was really odd to me. I thought he would have been given more opportunity, and I know it was hot and cold a bit down the stretch, but he would have been the type of guy that I would have thought, okay, give him some minutes at the 4 off the bench, a little bit more size, better on the glass while you're getting dominated on the boards. Not a great three-point shooter, but it's not like he's been any worse from 3 than Osman was for most of the year, than Okoro was in the postseason. So that was the only thing from at least the guys that they had internally. Like, I don't know if Danny Green should be getting minutes over Dean Wade in the postseason in 2023. That was the biggest concern to me, but otherwise, most of it just relies on the front office now and what tweaks can they make. Even though we're saying all this, like they're still in a great spot. This is still a very good team. They're very young. They were a top 4 seed in the East for a reason this year, and they're probably going to be in and around that again next year. This is just a team that us and most people see upside with, and we just hope that they can make those couple of extra moves to get up to that next tier in the East, because us and many other people were having that conversation a month, 2 months ago. Are they with that top tier in the East? Are they more with the Knicks and the Heat and the Nets? And it was a bit of a debate. And they more or less proved in the postseason that they're at least right now a little bit closer to the second tier than the top tier. They just need to make those couple extra moves to be able to get to the top tier, and hopefully they can get there.
Yeah, I was wrong about that this year. I had them kind of closer to that top tier, just like one tier below, and they just aren't there yet. There's a lot of work to be done. Those teams at the top of the East they're deeper, and their top end talent is just a bit more consistent. So hopefully this Cleveland team can grow into that. I still think the future's bright, and it's not time to press the panic button. But if the next 2 seasons or so end up going like this, you may be in a tough spot. But they're good now.